Does this ever happen to you? Well, there's so many settings here and it confuses me so much, so what do I have to do to start racing? My name is Yang, and don't worry, in this video we're going to let you know everything you need to know to get started to go racing in iRacing in 2024. This video is basically going to tell you what are the most important, at least what I think is the most important, because there's a lot of menus basically highlighting the things that are going to be good for you to learn, for you to know. There's a lot of settings that you can play around with, and if you need to have a more in-depth description on what each setting is, we'll go into it real quick. If you just hover over something, like hover over this at the bottom, it'll give you an explanation of what iRacing intends for you to know, and sometimes it's a little confusing, which is why I'm making this video. If that is easier for you, just go through every setting and do that. But because there's a bajillion settings in, in each control, in each menu, this is basically what I use personally. And I think this is like not even the baseline, but it's like what I feel like most people should use, or at least somehow map onto their wheel. Or, I mean, honestly, if you're using controller, then that's crazy, but I assume most people that play iRacing have a wheel, and this is what I think you should use. So we're going to get straight into it. So we're going to the options menu at the top right, and this is the drive menu. I have a Fanatec Club Sport V3 pedal set, and they're load cell brake pedals. If you have a load cell brake pedal, just click the load cell brake pedal and you don't have to do anything. It'll use and take the data that your load cell, so however much pressure you're putting into the pedal, and use that in iRacing. So that way you don't have to play around with the brakes. All you have to do is play around with how stiff you like your pedal, and whatever, if it's Moza, Fanatec, Cube Control, SimuCube, and whatever pedal that you're using, all you have to mess around with is that software. Because if you don't have this checked, then it's going to feel very different through each car. In the Super Formula cars, you're going to be braking more as opposed to, or less, as opposed to like a GT3 car, and so on and so forth. So the brake pedal is definitely, and the brakes, how they feel, are going to be very different across each car. So if you just use a load cell brake pedal, it'll be much easier for you to get used to braking and, trail braking and knowing when the brakes are cold, because the data that you get through your load cell brake pedal is obviously going to be a lot more detailed, as opposed to what iRacing and you kind of configuring it for yourself. But, if you configure it for yourself and you find a setting for each car that you find is great, awesome, all the power to you. But I personally just click this and it makes my life 100% easier. Force feedback. There's a strength. If you go into the black box, actually, in while you're driving, there's gonna be a setting that you can see. It'll say auto. If you just click auto, that's iRacing's kind of recommended force feedback setting for that car. So cars that have power steering, for example, the Super Formula, the actual Super Formula cars, their force feedback is going to be a lot less so, because their power steering and their car steering for that car is going to be a lot softer, as opposed to these cars, which the power steering is less strong. At least that's how I interpreted it. So if you just click the auto, and then it'll be heavier for some cars. But if you like more force feedback, which I personally like, kind of like a middle ground for most of my cars, I think the Super Formulas are very light for what iRacing recommends. So I like to turn it up a little bit, but for these cars I like to turn it down a little bit, because it's a little too much for me. So I don't want to break my wrists when the car snaps on me, or if I'm going over bumps and I literally lose the car because the steering is so heavy for me. So play around with that for each car. I personally think you should change the strength per car, but if you don't care, then just click the auto button and that'll work for you. Another big setting is the tow car. So I know it says when you stop on track, or you spin out, or you beach the car, and you're stuck on a curb and you need to go back to the pits. A lot of times it'll say press escape and to go back to the pits, or something like that. And you have to be stopped, obviously, but it'll say press escape to go to the pits. Instead of pressing escape and having either to go and grab your keyboard, or looking for your keyboard, or having to pick it up from somewhere off the ground or something like that, or having to reach across your desk, this setting just basically you just click a button, and that's all you need to do. So moving on to the options tab, split time delta is kind of a really important one for me. I know a lot of people don't use it because it's kind of a big bar that gets out of your way, or gets in your way, sorry. I personally love to use it. So in order to use it, you just set a button here, next splits delta display, so whatever button you have set to it. You can either, I have it to a scroll wheel on my wheel, but you can set it to whatever you want. So if you want to go like up or if you want to go down, that's basically what it is. As you cycle through, what it'll cycle through are these options. So it'll be cycle through all-time best lap, optimal lap, whatever. I know a lot of people don't like that because they don't like to see whether they are losing time, whether they're gaining time. I like to see how much time I lose because it tells me like whether I'm losing time in a sector, whether I am gaining time in a sector. It helps me see, oh, I did this, so I tried this out. It helped me improve. I like seeing that live feed. It's really important to me because I like to see what I need to improve, or whether I lost time in a race, for example. Like, oh my god, I lost 5/10 on a straight because I have wing damage. So I know, like, okay, now I can like kind of tone it back a little bit because I have damage. Or like I'm gaining so much time on this guy, I'm getting 5/10 on this guy in this one corner. So you can set it to whatever you want. I have it to session best lap because I like to see if I have a really good lap, I can improve here. Okay, this isn't my fastest lap. You can have whatever. If it's too distracting, don't turn it on, just have it off. But I personally like it. And to see the delta bar, you need to make sure that this button, this is clicked, the display delta bar. That'll show you the like red, green on your screen. But if you don't like that, then just turn it off. The auto text chat, I do not use this. A lot of people do, to say like, oh, pass left, pass right, I'm pitting in. As you can see, I have everything's unassigned. I don't use any of this. I know a lot of people like to use this just because like it helps you communicate with other drivers, you know, like saying thanks for letting you by, or telling people to pass on the left or pass on the right if you got damage or you have a back marker, or you're just heading to the pits. You tell people where you're pitting in, let people know that you're coming out of the pits. So I don't use it, I just use my voice chat. But if you don't like to talk in game, or you don't have a mic on your sim rig, then using these will help you communicate with other drivers in a way so that like if they see you on track and you say pass left, pass right, then they'll, okay, I can go on the right, or they're safely letting me go on the left. So try the side of the track or something like that. Alright, in the Misc tab, there's nothing really that important. There's just sound and stuff. I guess there's the bass shaker stuff, which is like kind of like the butt kickers, stuff like that. I use screenshot capture for like thumbnails and stuff, so this is where it'll all be. But nothing super important here. Graphics settings, these are my graphics if you're interested in what graphics I'm using. I will say something important about the graphics is that some graphics in settings will be more important at certain tracks than other tracks. In my personal experience, like Monza. Monza is a track that there's not that many things to see. There's not too many grandstands, not too many people like out in the stands, or a setting like grandstands or the event or crowds. Crowds are the big thing. That setting will be less important at a track as in comparison to like Silverstone, or a Hockenheimring is a big one where grandstands and events are crowds are very important because there's going to be more people in the stands and more of all that. So just know that at certain tracks there are going to be some settings that are going to tank your performance in comparison to others. I won't go into what all these settings do because there's plenty of videos that probably explain that better than I could. Not all settings are going to help your performance at every single track. So just keep that in mind when you're going through and like kind of tweaking settings here and there. And here in the replay tab, you can kind of see that there are different settings. There's going to be different settings for if you're watching something back in comparison to you actually driving. So the graphics are when you're driving, and the replay settings are going to be when you're just watching a replay back. So if you watch my videos, you probably see that I have a picture-in-picture cam with like a replay of like you know, like a TV cam kind of just going around the track. These settings are what the picture-in-picture affects. So it's just basically what a replay is. This is basically different quality for your replay in comparison to when you're driving. Alright, sound. The only important setting here I would say is the push to talk, which is right here. If you have a mic, you basically, this is your push to talk button. I have a button so that you know, it's not an open mic. You click it and you can talk in game. And then your playback is what you hear, like, you know, other people talking to you. That's what you're gonna hear it from. The mic is basically what you're talking into, obviously. Alright, so here at the control menu, there are a lot of settings here, not really settings, but buttons here that you should definitely assign to your wheel, regardless of whatever wheel you have. No matter how many buttons you have, there are some on here that are definitely essential, and some they don't really need to know or even have on your wheel. A big one is the pit speed limiter. Having control over the pit speed limiter is very important because say you're in a wet conditions and you just go in from dry to wet tires, those tires are cold, and as soon as you come out of the tires from a track, say like Silverstone, that's a very dangerous pit exit. you're going to want to have control of the pit speed limiter, because you may want to use caution coming up that little hill and not spin out and then cause damage to your front wing or your rear wing or whatever, or just DNF yourself completely. So pit speed limiter, which is right here, this right here, have it assigned to something on your wheel so that you have full control over that. The tear off visor, this button you probably see me use the most if you watch my stream or any of my videos. It's the one I'm constantly spamming. You'll see me just move over to click it. Even when I'm not even playing games like iRacing, you'll see me hit it just out of habit anyways. Why do I use this so much in iRacing though? If you don't know actual helmets or karting helmets or anything like that, for open wheel racing specifically, there's no windshield in front of your car, right? So they have only a visor on their helmet and nothing else. What they have instead, so that when bugs, flies, or even dirt, or possibly water or oil that may splash onto your helmet, they have something like called a tear-off visor, multiple layers of tear-off visors that they tear off, and then they have a clear visual of what they can see. When you're in iRacing, what you're gonna see is what is your perspective of the helmet. This button does is essentially if you go off on track, or if you know it's raining, or I don't even think rain affects your visual so much in iRacing, more so it's like dirt and stuff, and it's usually stuff that like dust you'll see pick up on your screen, like slowly accumulating all over your screen. If you watch my stream or any of my videos, you'll never see it because I'm constantly spamming this button, because I personally get distracted by dirt and stuff that appears on my screen. So I have to have this button just so that I don't distract myself. And nowadays even when there's nothing on my screen, I habitually just press it so that there's nothing that comes up on the screen. So if you get distracted like me from little dust particles and dirt that appears on your screen, the tear off visor is what you're going to want to assign. Probably one of the most important in-car adjustments on any car, regardless of whatever game or car you're running in iRacing, in this game, is the brake bias. You need to have this set as a setting on your wheel somehow. You can have it to a knob, have it to two wheels, or 2 buttons, or whatever you want. Just something easily accessible that you don't need to move your hand too much, because depending on the race and depending on conditions and depending on if you have a setup, if you like how a certain setup feels, you're gonna need to change this like mid-race, and you need to have this on. It's the brake bias. If you're oversteering too much, you set it to the front more under braking. If you're understeering too much, you set it to the rear so that you can have a little bit more rear end. In any car, fixed setup, open setup, you need to have this assigned. I highly suggest that the brake bias is something that you add onto your wheel. So you're gonna see all these other controls. I really don't mess with them. I don't even know what half of these do. Oh, this is like here into increased field of view. You can do that on your black box, which you can actually assign here. So these are all your black box controls. See, there's next black box, previous black box. These buttons essentially cycle through the menus on your black box. So I have it set to a knob for me, so it's like turn one way, turn the other. You could even have, if you have enough like room on your wheel, you can set each black box to a specific button. I personally don't, and I don't care because I just cycle through with a knob. I think it's very essential that you at least have next black box, previous black box added as well. Or if you want to mess with the controls, select previous control, because the up and down, increment and decrement is left and right. So if you need to go up and down, that's the select control. If you need to go left and right, it's increment and decrement. So just remember that if you want to mess around with the black box. Another big one I would definitely recommend is replay controls. If you like going back and like watching incidents or seeing what happened on lap 1, these shortcuts will definitely help you navigate. Or even if you're like making YouTube videos about this like me, I personally use these all the time just to like, you know, look through incidents, or even on stream when I'm looking at certain incidents, I have shortcuts to, oh, what was this incident? What was this incident? Did I go off track here? Do I need a slow motion? Do I need to go back a lap, forward a lap? Do I need to go to the next car? Do I need to go to a different camera and stuff, you know, so on and so forth. So if you want to do stuff like that, I highly recommend playing around with the replay controls. Next camera and previous camera, stuff like that is, you know, quality of life. But if you don't want to use your mouse only and just click around, then you put the replay controls either on your keyboard. You don't really need it on your wheel, but it helps me just like look through incidents and stuff. If you are on VR, this is a very important setting for you to have. It's the recenter HMD. If you're like, oh, I'm like too far to the left or too far to the right, or like, you know, like I'm sitting in an awkward position, I'm too far back, too far forward, the recenter HMD is what you're going to want to use if you like, you know, you need to recenter yourself. So if you're looking for like the button that like you're in VR and you're looking for like, oh, how do I recenter myself? That is the button right there. So some of you might have a problem with like rearranging stuff. The in pit lane box, say you wanted to move it, the button you're gonna want to click is Alt K. That is, when it's lit up blue, you'll know you have done it right. It's Alt K. This helps you rearrange stuff. So say like you wanted to move this higher, you move that over here. Or if you wanted to move any of your other stuff, so for example, I'm going to move my black box just for the video. I moved it up to the middle. You just press Alt K, and when it's blue, you'll be able to move it around. And when it's not blue, that means you turn it off. So if you want to turn off the moving around stuff, you press Alt K, and you just press it again if you don't want to move things anymore. But this is the black box. We're going to quickly go through this just because this is very important settings and such. You can see I have it set to a knob for me to just go through. So there's some settings here that you need to pay attention to. So graphics adjustments, these are help you like move the driver forward. This will help you if you want to move up or anything like that. This will help you like see better, I guess, if you have a more comfortable position. These are the settings that I like to use. It does vary per car though. I have my driver height at 3.5 centimeters here. When I'm in the F4 car, I always have to move my driver up. So just keep that in mind. And it's a little bit tiresome to have to do that. It's just a little quirk, but I haven't figured out a way. If you know a way to have it per car, let me know in the comments below. But I personally just have to adjust my driver height per car throughout any car in iRacing. Yes, I know I got a haircut in between the video, me editing this, shut the outro after I got my haircut. And that's all you need to know to get started in racing in iRacing in 2024. If you found this video educational or if this helped you out in any way, make sure to smash that like button below. I'd really appreciate it. If there's anything you have questions about pertaining to either iRacing or anything else regarding me, leave a comment below. I will make sure to answer as many as I can. I know I took the 4th of July week off, but I will be doing regular streams and regular uploads and videos and stuff. Monday, Thursday, Saturday streams are going to be going on as per usual, and as well as daily uploads and videos and shorts and stuff like that. So I will be back on track from now on. Had my rest break and now I'm going to be back on at full speed. And guys, I will see you in whatever video stream or Discord server or wherever. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys later. Peace.